Hello everyone, a warm welcome to another session of Prelims 360. In the last session, we discussed about basics about prelims regarding the cutoff intake. So you have got a fair idea about those things. Now moving on, we actually talk about your daily preparation. That is your test series, how to analyze previous year question paper, which are very relevant for your prelims preparation. So you might be having a lot of doubts regarding these sessions. So kindly ask doubt through your comments. Okay, we try to address either in comments or we will take those FAQs in the next session and we try to address them which are relevant. Okay, fine. So first, today's session we talk about how to use the prelims test series. Okay, so there are some myths as well as some realities we will talk. Okay, so first we talk about why you are supposed to solve the prelims test series. Okay, the basic idea of solving the test series is, one, it will add to your knowledge base. That is, you would have studied one or two sources for prelims, so everything regarding that subject would not have covered in that source. So by solving many test series, you also get those topics which are not covered in your conventional sources. So that may help in increasing your knowledge base. That is point number one. Second, it will help you to streamline your preparation. That means that, let's say, if I start studying polity, and once I done with subject polity, then if I solve the test series related to it, it gives a kind of a continuity to my preparation, saying that yes, I am doing fine in this subject and I can move on to the next subject. So it also, since there is a timetable for a test series, you can streamline your preparation, your subject, along with the timetable of the test series. So it helps you to streamline your preparation in the next 3 months. Then the third and most important issue is time management. So what happens usually is, most of the time, many of the students who have not solved the test series after the prelim exam, they feel that paper was very lengthy, they could not handle the question, they could not come back to second round of many of the question. So these things can be solved through the test series. In the test series only you can test trial and error, and also in CSET, let's say whether you want to start with passages or you want to start with quantitative aptitude, or you want to have the mixture of both, that you can plan in the test series so that you will not have any doubt during the real examination. Then it also helps you to avoid the runtime errors. What is runtime error? Sometimes in the OMR you tick the answer in the question paper different, and in the OMR you put the different answer. So sometimes what happens is, this OMR submission or omission of these kind of things can be handled better if you had practiced it before. Okay, then it will help you to understand your strength and weakness. Now, some students may be very good at the conceptual level in economy, polity, or geography concepts, but they may be struggling to remember the facts of history or art and culture. So you will understand what is your strength, what is your weakness. So once you understand your weakness and strength, you can work upon it. Okay, next, revision and recall. That means once you are done with reading some subject or studying some subject, once you solve the test series, it is a kind of revision to you. Many of the questions that appear, whatever you have studied, so it acts as a one more revision before even really revising the complete book. Okay, so this is the reason you have to solve the test series. Okay, moving on, we try to understand how to choose the test series. What happens is, when you people go to market, in the Xerox shops you see plenty of test series, or you want to join some test series at the end. Now at this point of time, many students were preparing for mains till now, and now they want to shift their preparation to prelims. They will be looking for a test series. So how to choose a test series which is better? Okay, so the parameter that you are supposed to look is, it should be comprehensive and well organized. What is comprehensive? It should cover basically your syllabus at least twice or thrice in your entire test series syllabus. Okay, then it should be well organized. Sometimes what happens is, some of the test series where we see in the market, what happens is, they have 2 chapters from polity, 2 chapters from economy, 2 chapters from geography. So it will not help you to prepare and give it in that way. You want to complete one subject, or let's say you want to complete complete 8th standard NCERT you want to complete, then you want to take the test. So at that point of time, you can take the textbook based test series, or otherwise you can see subject wise test series. So but it should not be mixed of many things, so that you cannot prepare and give. So you have to see whether it is comprehensive as well as well organized. That is point number 1. Okay. Then the second is quality of the question. Usually there is a myth in the market saying that let the question be more difficult. People feel that this is a better test series. It is up to the UPSC standard. Okay. But if you look at the UPSC paper, though the paper are tough, the kind of question they asked will not be that tough. That means that they will ask the basics of the topic. So you should have the horizontal depth rather than the vertical depth. That means that I don't need to know the minute details, but even at the surface level I should know more number of topics. That is the whole idea. So while looking at the questions, see the questions, previous question, or the questions that from the test series, just check with the kind of question that they have given. It is not that however, it doesn't mean that it should not have the difficult question. It should have the difficult question, but it should be in the relevant themes. For example, let's say fundamental rights is very important. Buddhism, Jainism is very important in history. Okay. At that point of time, let's say if they have asked difficult question in Buddhism and Jainism, they have gone a little bit depth. That is completely fine. Okay. Because UPSC have some themes where questions are repeating. Okay. From that theme. So if they have asked depth in those themes, then it is fine. But otherwise, in a general topic, if they have started asking the minute level of information, then you cannot remember, and it will not qualify as a difficult paper, and it is not up to the standard of UPSC. So such papers should be avoided. Okay. Then we move to another question: how many tests to solve? Okay. Now this actually entirely depends upon your level of preparation. Let's say if you are a fresher, okay, then it is better that as and when you complete some subject, take a test to check your knowledge, cross check how you are doing well, and move on. So around in minimum case 35 to 40 is a fair number where you have to solve so many questions. So but however, let's say if you are an experienced candidate, that your polity is your strength, you are performing well in polity question. Let's say you know that you are performing well in economy question. At that point of time, you give more emphasis to those subjects where you are weak. So you can solve more number of papers in the areas where you are weak rather than spending the same time on the topics which you are already strong. Okay. Then whether we should do about subject wise test series as well as full length tests. So here the basic idea is the subject wise test, how it works is, let's say I am good in polity. Okay. So once I complete my polity, revising polity, I solve 1 or 2 tests to make sure that I am doing fine. Let's say I have the accuracy of more than 80%. Okay. So let's say I have accuracy of more than 80% in the subject of polity. At that point of time, there is no need to solve too many polity papers as such. Okay. You can only look for the topics which have not covered in your conventional source from the other paper. You don't need to solve again the same kind of paper, because you know that your performance is quite good here. But let's say in some of the subject where my sources itself is limited, here there are 2 things. One, I am good at it. Second is the source is fixed. Like we almost 90% of the students study Lakshmikant. Okay. Now I am well thoroughd with Lakshmikant, then I don't need to do too many tests from polity as long as you are comfortable with Lakshmikant. Okay. However, let's say I am doing for ancient India. Okay. Let's say I have done only NCERTs along with the basic NCERTs. Let's say I have done Tamil Nadu book. Okay. Apart from that, let's say I have not done any standard books, or and it is not advisable to study like 500-600 pages book for 2-3 questions. For example, I cannot study Romila Thapar, or I cannot study Upinder Singh for a reason of getting 2-3 questions. So at that point of time, it is better to solve, at least since you know that your sources are not that not that comprehensive. At this point of time, it is better to solve many subject wise tests related to history and art and culture. So you can increase your knowledge base through the test series rather than studying 500, 600 pages. Okay. So wherever you are already good and your sources are fine, okay, and as well as your accuracy is fine, don't solve too many papers. It's okay. Rather than that, again, revise many a times the Lakshmikant book. Okay, that would be fine. But however, let's say if your sources is limited, okay, your sources are limited as well as your accuracy is not that great, and it is better to solve many number of papers so that you can manage it better. Okay, that is point number 2. However, when it comes to full length, in the subject wise, there is always a drawback for a paper setter basically. So what happens is, it is always a misleading for many reasons. Okay, what happens in the subject wise test series is, let's say they have syllabus from 1857 to, let's say, arrival of Gandhi. Okay, Gandhiji, so 1950. Okay, so in this point of time, what exactly happens is, they have to set around 70-80 question only during this time frame. So at least 50 question will be direct and easy. Okay, easy questions. And another 20-25 question, what they do is, they also don't have too much of material to ask question from only from that part. So they start asking the minute level details which UPSC may not ask. But however, in UPSC what happens is, they have to take only 7 to 8 questions from entire modern India. So the game is completely different for UPSC. So they can ask only the standard questions because they have the liberty of asking only 8 to 9 questions from complete modern India. But here what happens is, even within the modern India, within the limited syllabus, they have to ask 75 questions. Okay, so it will be helpful for your revision. You may feel that once you have studied, you can just go through the question and see that you are doing fine. However, your marks here are the kind of question will not completely reflect the UPSC. Okay, so what happens is, many a times you start getting, since you have, it is a limited syllabus, you may start getting a score around 120, 110, 115. So you may become complacent just because you are getting here. But however, since due to that limitation, there will be many easy questions that you have got good score. But in reality, in the full length test, you will have only 8 to 9 questions. Then it becomes tricky. So to understand your level of preparation, don't do the subject wise test. Subject wise test is to understand how you have done, how you are reading, whether from whatever that you have covered from NCERT or other books, that you are doing it fine or not. However, your level of confidence in that paper will depend upon how you are performing in the full length test. Okay, so in the full length test, let's say if you are getting 120 plus consistently, then you are completely doing fine. Subject wise is more for a revision, and full length is more for understanding where exactly you stand at this point of time. Okay, so however, another point is, what happens is, so many times students, what they do is, they pick up one test series which they feel better and solve all the tests from them. So now the problem here is, basically they have a similar pattern. Any institute will have a similar pattern where question will come in a similar lines. So what happens is, you would have acquainted with that kind of question asking. So in UPSC, suddenly let's say they have asked in a completely different format, and since you have not done that kind of question, what happens in the examination is, you will get confused. You will feel disoriented in the examination hall. So it is better to solve full length test from various institutes in the market. Okay, let's say you solve 2 from one institute, and they have a kind of one kind of asking question, and another 2 tests full length test from another famous institute, where they may be asking it in a different way altogether. So since you have done 5-6 different papers from various institute, you will not get you will not have that prejudice, question will come in this way, because every institute will ask in a different way. So you are, even when UPSC asks in completely a different way from all these 5 institutes, you may not feel completely disoriented. You know that yes, UPSC is asking in a different. So you are already well prepared for it. Okay, so that will be helpful. So for subject wise, you can stick to one institute and follow the same thing. However, for full length test, it is better to solve from many institutes, so that you will not get carried away with one type of question paper. Okay, so many a time this happens. Basically, they are carried away with one type of paper. They are very confident they are doing fine in the full length paper also, but when they go to UPSC, the kind of question that they ask are the way of the use of the language in UPSC may differ, and you will start getting confused. So it is better that try to have exposure with the many different type of test series in full length, okay, so that you will not be get scared by looking at the UPSC paper, okay. Okay, now how to utilize the test series, this is most important, okay. Now this is a checklist because people, in the beginning they would have solved so many, 70 tests, 80 tests, 90 tests, but at the end what happens in the last 1 month, you have to cover your syllabus, standard books. Along with that, you have to revise your synopsis of the test series also. Then it becomes very, clumsy, and you will not be in a position to cover everything, and that is where, you mess up the things. So it is better how you should know in the beforehand how you are utilizing your test series that you solve in the month of March. Also, you should know how you are utilizing it in the May. So you should have a clear and, idea how to go forward it. So first is I talk about, how you are supposed to utilize the test series, that is during test series hours. First is try to have real-time environment. What is real-time environment? Usually what happens is when you solve the exam in UPSC, you are not allowed to, use the mobile, or, so don't, while solving the regular tests also, don't do that. I mean, you just think that it's a UPSC test, and let's say other things. Let's say I have to fill OMR sheet in UPSC. So while in the test series practicing test series, just don't practice online. Try to practice in the OMR sheet. So sometimes what happens is, by mistake, let's say I attended 12th question, but however I want to skip the 13th question. Okay, then I am attending 14th question. So what happens is in online, I just go to the next question and select the answer. But while filling the OMR sheet, sometimes what happens is you would have filled here, instead of filling 14th, you would have filled the 13th question, and you end up making the mistake there. Sometimes it's okay if you suddenly come to know, it's fine. Otherwise, sometimes the series of error happens for 4-5 questions, many. So these are the runtime error that can happen. Okay, so if you had practiced it before, you will be knowing, okay, this is the thing that I had done mistake before. So in the examination, you are already ready. Okay, so try to follow the real-time environment, use the OMR sheet. Point number. Second, also let's say like this, many a times what happens is during the examination, if let's say tomorrow is the prelims, you might not get a good sleep. You have prepared from 1 year, there's a good chances, not that every candidate can go through it. So some students who have prepared start feeling a little bit of anxiety. They might not get the proper sleep that they usually get. So in that kind of situation, when you go to the examination, lack of sleep can hamper your, reading of the question itself. So whenever you are practicing, let's say today, if I had, not slept yesterday properly, then next day try to write the test in that mode itself, so that you understand even in, that kind of time, how you have to attend. So you have to experience what can happen before only you have to experience. So that is the second thing. Third is basically, let's say, many a times what happens is, you get your center in such area, let's say it is a market area where there is a lot of noise. Sometimes, invigilators will be talking, or sometimes in the market there can be some functions happening there. So since you would have solved your test series in a very quiet environment, suddenly you might not get adjusted to that. These are the practical problems I am talking about. Many students, who are very well doing during the test series, due to these circumstances, external circumstances, they could not perform. So let's say you solve at home when people are watching TV, or you solve at the environment where there is a quiet noise. So you try to concentrate and focus there, so that you should not feel in the examination that these are the new things, that you have already faced it before itself, and you are well prepared, your mindset is well prepared. Because to be very frank, the prelims is, after your preparation, certain level of preparation, it is all the game of those 2 hours. How you manage yourself in 2 hours is the real game. Okay, so you try to, experience those things before itself, so that you will not get confused because of those things, or you will not get affected by those external circumstances. In one of my attempt where I wrote in, Tirupati, what happened was during the afternoon session, suddenly power went off. Okay, so when power went off, suddenly what happened was, due to high temperature during the May, that was the prelim. So I was completely sweating basically, sweats were dropping in front of my OMR sheet. So I had to manage that basically. Okay, somehow I managed, that is a different thing. But however, these are some external which you have not expected before. Okay, so try to experience those things that can happen in future. Be ready for it during your test series itself. Okay, then OMR I talked about trial and error. What is trial and error? So many students, what they do is, they consider the test series as the real exam. So they attend only 70 questions, 60 questions in the test series. So test series is what? Basically, test series is nothing but kind of a net practice. Okay. So whatever that you want to execute in the examination, you are trying here everything so that you will know about yourself. Let's say if I know only 50-55 questions, now I want to take the chances. So don't do the blind guesses, but wherever there is a logical guesses where you can apply the logic to any question, try and solve it. It's okay if you go it, if you get it wrong, then at least you will come to know that the way you put logic may go, problematic in some of the subject. For say some people who are very good in polity, let's say, or economy, when they are guessing or logically thinking, the question related to polity and economy may have the better results there. However, the same person who is having the guessing in a history question may do the wrong. So what happens is, so you will be knowing at least, okay, so when I am guessing, it is better that I take more chances in those subjects where I have my fundamentals very strong, and your, the ratio of chances, when you are taking the chances, ratio of getting right will become more in those subjects. So you will be knowing about yourself. It is not someone maybe who is, very much interested in, ancient India, medieval India, or, art and culture may take chance more there, and they may have the chances of getting right of those questions. So it is entirely depends from person to person. It is important to know yourself. What is your strength? What is your weakness? So when you are taking the chances, you know where, you can play better. Okay. That is the second thing. So don't worry about the mistakes that you commit during the test series, but however, after the test, analyze what went wrong in those questions. Okay, don't worry about the score that you have, because what happens is, we have seen many students who are scoring 120, 130 consistently in the test series have failed in the main examination or preliminary examination. However, those who are scoring 90, 95 consistently by taking many chances in the test series have successfully cleared the prelims, because they were already trialed, done the trial and error. They know about themselves better, so they have performed better in those areas. So here what happens is, when the question is very difficult, you have the habit of leaving all the unknown question, not taking the chances. Let's say in the difficult paper, only 35 to 40 questions in the first round, then you have not made the habit of taking the chances or doing the logical guesses. Okay, so at that point of time, you will not be in a position to attend such question. Suddenly it is your first time experience, you will you will not have that conviction to take that question, and you will end up making many errors. So it is better to do trial and error during the test series. Don't worry about the score. Okay, nobody is judging you for your test series score. Whether you clear the prelims or not, that matters. So try everything, whatever that you want to have the doubts. Let's say if I have doubt in whether I should start with let's say in CSAT, whether I should start with comprehension or quantitative aptitude. First I try with the quantitative aptitude in one test, so I come to know how many test questions that I can attend, or how much scores I can Similarly, in the next test, I also try with the comprehension first, then see how my performance. So whatever that here it is more of a net practice. So you want to do whatever you want to try, you try here. Okay, don't directly try in the examination. So it is and also make a habit of leaving completely unknown question from here only. Okay, don't try to attend completely unknown. You have zero knowledge about it, zero idea about it. Don't do the blind guess here. Stop doing it from the test series itself, so that you will not get tempted to do it in the real examination. Many a times what happens is, you try to take the blind guesses in one test, it may end up, you may end up doing some 4 or 5 correct out of 10 questions. So you carry away with the same mindset for the UPSC Prelims examination. You're taking too many chances and then ending up doing many negative things. So completely unknown question, you leave it, but wherever you can apply logic, wherever you have a little bit of idea, then start taking the chances and doing it, so that you understand about yourself better. Okay, then this is during the test series. Then let's see how you are supposed to do the post-test analysis. Okay, point number 1, we have seen many students taking 10 hours, 12 hours to study the synopsis of the test series. Okay, just analyze your paper, see where you have went wrong. Don't study each and every content that is given in the synopsis and mug up the things. Okay, so one is you have to minimize your synopsis reading around 2 to 3 hours basically, let's say. Don't spend too much of time, but however, analyze your mistakes. Which kind of question you are making mistake, whether the mistake is of, let's say, overlooking, you have not seen the word not, or you have not seen the word extreme words, or whatever it is. So see what kind of errors you have done. Okay, that is one thing. Second is, try to understand, whenever you are analyzing your paper, let's say, okay, one is there can be an error that is conceptual, or let's say there can be a factual error. Let's say if I ask about which of the following will lead to inflation, then it is more of a conceptual. Okay, but however, if I ask which is the country which has India has exporting, or from which country we are getting the highest FDI, that is factual. Okay, so analyze whether you are doing conceptual error or factual error. Let's say if you are doing factual error, that will be fine, because the more the revision, you can end up doing them correct. However, if you are doing conceptual error, okay, then go and read from your basics book again, or look at some YouTube videos where you can understand that concept better. Okay, so it helps you to know yourself and also rectify your mistake, rectify your weakness. Okay, but let's say if I am doing very good in some subject, let's say with the 80% accuracy, and in some, let's say in history, if I am doing only 30% accuracy, then you know that where to concentrate in the next 3 months. You can give more reading for a history kind of question. Even within the subject, there can be a conceptual error or a factual error, or inter-subject also there can be, in one subject you are getting more questions correct, and in some subject you are getting less questions correct. So wherever you are getting less questions correct, try to work on that subject in which areas you are missing out. Okay, and then adding synopsis to the knowledge base. This is another thing that I want to highlight. What happens during synopsis is, you take the synopsis, you highlight each and every question wherever you have done the mistake, or what happens is, you have studied, let's say you have studied Lakshmikant book, and let's say there is a question on speaker, powers of the speaker, or let's say election of the speaker. It is already there in Lakshmikant, you highlight there also, again in the synopsis also you highlight. So while doing the final last 2 revisions, what happens is, it becomes redundant. Basically, you are reading the same thing from 2-3 sources. So what you are supposed to do is, basically, let's say there is a question on powers of speaker, and I have seen that it is already there in Lakshmikant. Then what you are supposed to do is, though you have done the mistake, open your standard book from which you have referred, and mark it there instead of highlighting it in your standard synopsis. So don't try to highlight the same thing which is already there in the standard book. Let's say if there are some topics which are not there in the standard book or conventional book, which is adding to your knowledge, okay, then only you highlight that part, so that in the final revision, what I am doing is, I am studying conventional as well as from the synopsis only those topics which were not covered in the conventional. So there is no redundancy at all. So your 50 pages of synopsis will be only, at the end you will have only, let's say, 5 to 10 pages, because only 5 to 10 pages unknown question will be there. Other question, though you have done the mistake, it may be because of overlooking or you have not understood, it is available in the standard book. So go and highlight there rather than highlighting in the synopsis, so that you can keep your synopsis minimum and you can add to the knowledge base only, so that in the final revision it will be very helpful. And as I say, score does not matter, so don't worry about score. Let's say if you are scoring 70 also, 60 also, it's fine, or 120 also, it's fine. So it doesn't matter. You analyze, those who are getting less score, analyze where you are doing the mistake, point out your mistake, analyze it. While reading in the second round reading, make sure that you concentrate on those topics. Let's say I am missing some factual errors, so at that point of time, while doing the second revision, you start concentrating on those facts, you always make the mistakes. Okay, so that is the point number 2. So don't worry about the scores. So what to neglect from the test series? What you are supposed not, this is the not to take away anything from this test series. One is comparing your score with peers. That is anyways, they may be having, let's say there is a subject on history. Okay, history paper, maybe their optional can be history. They maybe are, they are, very good at history, they are performing well there, and you may not be doing well there. So it can be, so in that situation, it is better not to compare with the peers. So only work on your weakness and your strength. Okay. Second is irrelevant question. Sometimes, let's say, just because last year they have asked in sports, let's say tomorrow they are asking too many questions from the minute sport, golf also, so they are asking, so you feel that it is a very irrelevant compared to the last previous year papers. If you refer, you feel that it is very irrelevant question, then you can neglect that in the synopsis. Don't worry about such question. Don't give too much of weightage for just because you don't know the answer. It doesn't mean that that question is important. Okay. So if you feel that that is not relevant, then don't, try to remember those facts. Then is very, very important, skills. What is skills? For example, let's say in a test series, they are giving some of the skills. Let's say that, most of the time, let's say they are giving a ministry wrong. Okay. Ministry wrong. Okay. What happens is when you start solving the test series, in the beginning, you read about some scheme or some organization. Let's say this organization come under this ministry. Let's say FSSAI come under Ministry of Health. Okay. Let's say they have given something else. So what happens usually is, when you are reading it, what you do is, you first feel that it is incorrect, but however, once you see the answer keys, then you realize that ministry they have given wrong. So in the next test, what you do is, again you attend the same thing, you do the similar mistake, then you start realizing that, whenever the ministry comes, that will be wrong. So you will start applying that skill part without even thinking much. So what happens in the examination hall, you see, some extreme statement, some ministry, you put it wrong without even looking at the other statement. Okay. So automatically since you eliminate one option, you get another two option you get, and you make the, attempt the question and then ending up doing the question. Because what happens is, maybe in any institute, those who are setting the paper, and in UPSC, those who are setting the paper are two different individuals. Okay. This person may giving always the ministry wrong, but this person may always give the ministry right. You don't know. Okay. So never try to learn the skills from the test series. Use the test series for your knowledge base, to increase your knowledge, time management, handling the pressure. Those things you use the test series. But for skill part, don't depend upon the any institute ka test series. Okay. Rather, depend upon last 10 years, previous year question paper, see what kind of trap they are setting, or let's say other examination conducted by UPSC like CDAS, CAPF, NDA, these kind of examination, you see kind of question where they are setting the trap. So try to learn the skills from that part. Sometimes what happens is, everyone starts saying that any extreme statement will be wrong. For example, if you remember last 2 years, before 2 years, there's a question on visible light communication. There's one statement is, visible light communication, they had one extreme statement, okay, saying that it will have no electromagnetic interference. Whenever the people see no electromagnetic interference, this is an extreme statement, they just removed it. But in always science, it can be 1 or 0. There can not be middle ground, just like humanities. Okay, so many have ended up doing the mistake just because of that. Okay, and let's say, for example, some Gir lions. Okay, now it is found only in basically India. So at that point of time, if someone made that it only in India, so I am removing it. So there is no point doing it. Okay. So what I am saying is, whenever the question is there or skill part is there, don't try to learn from the test series. Though they may give in the UPSC similar line, but it may not be always true. You always cross check through the previous UPSC question paper as well as other UPSC papers. Okay. So that you will not directly go with those extreme statement or those ministry kind of things. Rather, you will always try to find the weak links within the statements. Okay. Other statement, you can see them better. Okay. So this is one thing. Now, the basic philosophy of the test series. Okay. So what we are trying to convey the point here is, one is what exactly the philosophy of test series is. Basically, it will fine-tune your mindset to solve the MCQs. Okay. So eliminating the option, or skipping the question, or those kind of whether you two should take the chance. So that solving the MCQ and reading or studying is two different things, right? So solving MCQ itself can be a skill. So it will help you to fine-tune your mindset to solve the MCQs. And it can give you, since you cannot read 4-5 books for single subject, and let's say you have studied Lakshmikant, let's say they have given some 10-20 question apart from Lakshmikant also, let's say they have given from various other sources, that it helps in increasing your knowledge base. So you cannot read 4-5 books, rather you can depend upon the test series to increase your knowledge base in those topics. And handling uncertainties and ensure calmness. So basically in many of the test paper, if you have seen last test may have scored very well, next test it is completely difficult paper. So you will come to know that will start handling that uncertainty. You will not get stuck with I always attend this many questions, or I cannot. So it depends upon the difficulty of the paper, I should attend the number of questions. Okay, so you will come to know about the uncertainties, which will eventually lead to have the calmness within you. So it is better to solve the tests. And the final thing is, it is not the real match but the net practice. Okay, so this is the very important thing I always emphasize upon. What is net practice? Let's say here, maybe let's say Ganguly was having problem with the bouncers. Okay, so he can do the bouncers practice in the net, so that he can perform better in the real match. So here it is more about practice. You understand your weakness, working upon it, your strength, so that your strength, so that you can whenever taking the chances, okay, this is my strength, I can take more chances in these topics. So it will help you to understand about yourself. This is more of an do many errors, it's fine. Okay, and so that you don't do such mistakes in the examination hall. If so many people do mistakes in filling the OMR here, for example, they fill the roll number, and by mistake, instead of roll number, they fill their register number. So something, this kind of things can happen. Okay, whenever they are doing it in the test series, they know that they have done these mistakes before, so that in the examination they will be careful. Okay, so try everything whatever you want to try here. Okay, and don't overdo it. Basically, depend more on your conventional sources. Only check your preparation level through test, and also add the knowledge base because from the test series. Okay, so if you have any other doubt how to use the test series, okay, you can always free to ask in the comments, so that we either address it in comment section itself, or we can take that FAQs in the next session and address it. Okay, thank you. And next, as we talked about some of the important themes and all, we also talk about that in the coming session, and how to use other test series like CDS, CAPF and all, we discuss in the further session. So for now, this is it. Thank you guys.